Let's get this party started. Hello and welcome to self-taping best practices. As I get text messages that I will ignore. So this is just throwing this out there. This is not an official SAG-AFTRA webinar. This is just SAG-AFTRA members coming together to help share information, support the community, share our best knowledge, best practices. I want to get that out there first, just so we're all on the same page. Just make an introduction. My name is Evan Bass. We have with us Courtney Rioux and also Athena Colón. Hopefully I pronounced the last name correctly.
Sí, baby, you did it right.
Thank you. Today we are focusing on self-taping best practices, which is really important during our time of self-quarantine, where pretty much all we are doing related to being on film is self-tapes. I actually have a self-tape right after this webinar that I'm doing.
Me too.
Always fun times. And also just is, you know, self-tapes don't necessarily mean it has to be for a specific audition. You know, you can also use it as practice and sort of making sure you're putting your best face forward as it is.
Yeah.
Just there's a Q&A little icon at the bottom. If you have any questions that come up throughout sort of this webinar, feel free to throw that down in a question, and then at the end of the presentation side of things, we'll take the questions and answer them. But try not to put them in the chat, and instead in the Q&A. It'll make it a lot easier for us to keep track of them. And without further ado, we are going to start with the setup. And pushing over you, Courtney.
Awesome. Just so you know who I am, if you don't know me, my name's Courtney Rioux. Like Evan said, I am a recurring character on Chicago Med, and I do a lot of voiceover currently on Jimmy Dean, SAG-AFTRA member, obviously, and I teach on camera and voiceover at the Green Room Studio in Chicago. We're doing virtual classes, so anybody can join now. And I'm also a certified life coach. So I love to help people and teach people, and so I was really grateful that Evan had me on today. And I'm going to talk about the setup. I just want to say, first of all, your acting is first and foremost the most important part of your self-tape, and no matter what self-tape setup you have, if your acting isn't there, it doesn't matter. And if you have the best, you know, if you have the best setup in the world, but your acting's not there, it doesn't matter. And also, if you have the worst setup in the world, but your acting is like super strong, then that's the most important part. So just to say, you don't have to like run to Best Buy today and leave your house because you should be staying in. If you want to order stuff and you can afford it, great. If not, totally fine. I'm going to walk you through a simple setup with maybe what you have in your house versus what I have in my house versus what my teacher, who's been a series regular several times, recommends for her setup. And they're all different levels, and everything is fine. So first and foremost, if you don't have a light, like this is my travel ring light. I also have, Evan, if you want to bring up my picture of my setup, that would be awesome. I have a standard ring light, and I see that Evan put my blog in the chat, and it has links. So everything I talk about today of what I have is linked into my blog, which you can go check out. But if you don't have a standard ring light or a travel ring light, all you have to do is set up in front of natural light in front of your window so that you are facing your window. So Evan just pulled up my setup. There's my ring light I ordered from Amazon before like a year ago. So I luckily had it. It also has a phone mount on it, which holds my phone for my video portion of it. That's what I use. I don't use a camera. I ordered a backdrop from Amazon as well, and that link is in there. It's a gray backdrop. If you don't have that, you can have a sheet, you know, just make sure it's not wrinkled. Blue or gray would probably be best, besides like not having white. But cameras are pretty good these days. So if a white sheet is all you have, or a white wall is all you have, a blank wall, that's totally fine too. If you have, just make sure you don't have things that distract people. So like any pictures hanging on your wall, you might want to take off the wall before you film if you can. And just, yeah, simple is totally fine. So if all you got is a blank wall, that's all you have. If all you have is sheet, totally fine. Here's Evan's closet. He painted it blue, which is great. I love that. And he doesn't have a ring light, so he's using natural light behind the camera. And he's facing the natural light. And what is that? That's your phone mount and your tripod. Yes. Okay. So having a tripod is really great. I'd say one of the most important things, so you don't have someone holding your phone like this. But if you have to stack up boxes of board games and, lay your phone against your computer or something, that's totally fine. If you can get a tripod and a phone mount, or like one of these ring lights that have, oh, it's not on here, but usually it has a phone mount on here, that would be great. So again, I use my phone. The camera on this side of the phone is a better camera than if you're doing this. Oh, there's my husband, Scott. Great. So if you can use this side of the camera, that is better to film you. When a more professional setup, you might want to have like a Canon camera. My teacher, Wendy Davis, recommends I have it written down somewhere, and I have her link to her setup as well, that Canon M50, which films in 1080p. She has multiple backdrops. She has backdrops lighter for comedy, darker for more serious stuff. Again, whatever you can afford, whatever you can get in these times, totally fine. So for my microphone, because I think lighting is really important and sound is really important. And I think that sound is even more important than lighting, because I think a casting director would be forgiving of bad lighting, but maybe not. If they can't hear you, then there's no point, right? So I bought a little microphone that plugs into my phone, and it's a Shure microphone. And again, the link is in that blog. What's great, I think, about this is, well, I can point it towards myself and away from my reader, and it's easy to use. I don't need a special app for it or anything. And that's also a good, when I can leave the house one day, and when I could leave the house, I would use it for voiceover auditions on the go. And so I could plug it in here and just speak into this microphone, and it's better than the microphone on your phone. So there's that, but if you wanted to have a boom pole and have like a shotgun mic, Wendy recommends a Rode shotgun mic. And I think you can get one of those for like $200. I get my mics from sweetwater.com. They have really great customer service. Love them. But again, you can get them from anywhere, Guitar Center, Amazon.
If you're in New York, B&H is our go-to. I'm a fan of sort of jerry-rigging things when you don't have access to it, especially in, the times we're in right now of especially with Amazon sort of not prioritizing things that aren't sort of medically important right now. So it's just a delay in a lot of things. Microphone is really important. The one thing to be careful of when you use a shotgun mic on a boom, you'll have to sync your own sound. So you just need to be a little bit more proficient with editing software and have the time to do that. I have a Rode mic that is very good, but I don't use it for these just because it's, for me, it's overkill because the amount of time it takes to sync in post-production, I rarely.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I usually spend most of my time focusing on memorizing and then just whatever's quick and easy. But as Courtney said, there are different aspects that go into it. There's, it being at the right height. There's the light. So, and the reason for the light is the uniform look. Right now, I have my natural light to my right. And as it comes in, the right side of my face is a little bit brighter than my left side, but that's why, because my closet doors are to my left. The natural light is the main thing I use. That said, when it's not the best day, on my list is to upgrade to a ring light myself. One of the great things are the shoe mounts that Courtney mentioned. That's the thing that allows you to attach the microphone to the stand with the ring light. I have one that attaches to my tripod. Yeah, just thinking of the different aspects is always very helpful. So,
and I think if you're not really good at technology, the simpler the better, because otherwise you won't do it. You won't want to do your self-tape because you're worried about your technology and your setup, and really you just want to have the simplest thing that you can just really quickly get it up there and do your audition and do your best acting without having to think about too much technology. Because we're not engineers, we're not gaffers, you know what I mean? Like we didn't want to do that, otherwise we would do that. But it's obviously something like we need to do now. And so I think the simpler the better.
I'm also going to share something that I've had to deal with, given that I don't have a roommate at the moment, is the idea of when you have self-tapes and you need a reader. So this is my current setup to the side of me right now. And it is completely jerry-rigged, but essentially what I do is I FaceTime or Skype in with a friend. They have the sides. I have it facing me when I'm performing, so that I have an eye line. I try and get it. The reason it's up so high is I'm trying to get it to an appropriate eye line, which we'll talk about later. But so to have it available as if it was somebody in the room, and it also allows to go back and forth a lot easier. I have in past, when I've not been able to get somebody, record on my phone or record on my iPad, and then put in pauses for my lines, and then press record on my phone, hit play on the iPad, and goes back and forth. The problem with that is you have to get your timing exact, or it gets thrown off. So it's always easier to have somebody there, and we have technology, so being able to just put a phone with audio where somebody's reading the lines, they don't necessarily have to see you. They know when the lines are read. You can use that. But there's always ways that you can sort of make it happen yourself. I mean, worst case, I've never done this, but if I were going to completely MacGyver it, I would do just my own lines, and then I would afterwards record the other lines and then edit that audio in. If I only had one device and no way to get anybody in the space. So it's sort of about being creative in this day and age, but also the advantages of technology to allow us to sort of do it much further than we had in the past.
I love it. What's up, y'all? Thank you for being here. The energy is good despite a rainy Thursday in New York, of course. So if you're on the East Coast, I echo all of it. I love, Evan, that you said this is a good opportunity, even if you don't have an audition. Like, real talk. This is an opportunity for you to play in your house, like get a setup together in case that audition does come. Or, I have a lot of actors that'll approach me and go, I want to create a reel. I don't have material for a reel. Well, get it up. This is great. I think we have to use these opportunities if you feel up for it to be creative in that. So I'm excited, really excited about it. Yeah. Shall we move on to topic 2?
Yeah.
Or do you feel good? I know I saw a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, so we can jump into that. So you ever recorded the other lines yourself? I think we just hit on that in many different ways. Mm-hmm. Feel free to ask a more specific one if there is anything specific more than the litany of possibilities that we just put forth.
All right, sweet. So let's keep this freight train rolling. What's up? Again, my name's Athena Colón. I'm an actress here in New York City. I'm also an acting coach. I've been working in New York for 10 years. I've done a bunch of co-stars out here on the East Coast. I've also done a lot of web series. And I genuinely enjoy working with actors. One, because it keeps me in my craft, but two, we learn so much from each other. No matter where you are in your career, there's always an opportunity to learn and grow. So thank you, Evan, and thank you, Courtney, for jumping on here and just working, because that's what this is about. It's about connection despite not being able to physically connect. Cool. So I want to dive into during your self-tape, what's actually happening, right? So you do all this beautiful setup, you're ready to rock and roll, and now you're going to turn on your camera and you got to get it on and popping. So one thing is, you want to set, you want to prep your scene like you would anything, right? You want to make sure that all of your scene prep is done before you get in front of the camera. It's the same thing. Imagine your self-tape is your set. And so we can't walk onto set going, wait, excuse me 1 second, let me look, right? We want to be able to be as off book as possible, doing all of the prep, all that good, delicious work that is, is why hopefully you're an actor, because you want to story tell. Another tip is you want to prep your reader. You want to make sure your reader's on board, whether they are on a FaceTime or on a Skype or on a phone call. It's a little different if you are your own reader and, you're re-recording those lines. But if you do have a reader, set a time. And I mean this, set a time like you would be setting a time. Oh, that's my dog. Ew, hi, baby. Set a time as if you're booking a professional studio. So, hey, we're going to work from 2 to 2:45 to 2:30 to 2:45. Giving them that time frame, one, honors everybody's time in the room, but it also puts you hopefully in the mindset that you're ready to work, that you're like, okay, I got a 45-minute slot, and in that slot, there's so many things that you can do. And here I want to talk about shots. What are the different shots? What's amazing is that most self-tapes, the typical is a medium shot. This is really important, right? So you're not going to get too much headspace. Now, I will say this, casting directors are very forgiving, especially during these times. I've not experienced a casting director who was like, nah, they look too personal, look too intimate. No, they want that. They want to see who you are first. So part of when you're getting into your shots, just make sure you don't have so much headspace. So if I'm all the way down here, that's a lot of headspace. Medium shot, you want to get it nice and, right below the shoulders, a little bit of headspace, and you're ready to rock and roll. That's classic, right? You're able to get the job done. Typically, that's usually the request. But I will say this, if you have an opportunity, my friends, think like a filmmaker. This is what self-tape is about. I want you to get excited. Think about being a filmmaker. Think about the genre. What network are you auditioning for? Because we know CW has a different feel than HBO. So then what does that mean about your shot? How do you want to shoot that? Do you want to do that classic medium? Do you want it? Maybe you have an action-packed scene where you're physically doing a lot. Well, guess what, baby? Pull back, get a wide shot. Turn your camera horizontally if you have an iPhone or an iPad. Turn it horizontally, get the action, get the physical action. You get to decide what space it's in your home. Like, yeah, we want a clear backdrop, you know what I'm saying? But you get to decide on how close the camera is, how further away. This is why we have the shot. So wide shot typically is going to pick up all of your physical action, which is great. You want that. If you do waist up, totally okay. Still consider a little bit of a wide, right? I love, especially for self-tapes, I had to do a self-tape in which I was a military officer. I walked in, I had my duffel bag, I was hot, it was the desert, and I got to put my duffel bag down and I used that. The chair was right beneath me. So play. During these self-tapes, I know you want to get the scene done because at the end of the day, this is about the storytelling and not just the physicality of it, but use the physicality and use the shot to tell the story. Use these things to your advantage. Have fun and play. Before you get your reader on board, throw that camera on and see what shot you want to do. And I say before the reader comes on board, you can do it a little bit while they're in your space or on FaceTime. But I love when actors become the creator, become the filmmaker, see the shot that you want. The other option, so we have a medium shot, we have a wide shot that's gonna capture your physicality, close up. I love me a close up, my friends. Here's why. It is all of that inner monologue action, all of that subtext, everything the character is thinking and not saying. So if you have a very intimate scene, get it close. And why not do a wide shot and a close up? See how that changes or influences your text in your scene. And guess what? Now you have options to go off and send to the casting director or for yourself, something you want to throw up on social media. Why not? Show the scene in different, you know, again, it's almost like having the lens of a director and a DP cinematographer. Get it? Yes. So shots. ¿Qué más? Any questions on that? That was a lot. Andrea Savo, yes, I see you. Okay, and I just want to jump in, Andrea, because I see your question. How do you get a full body slate? Sometimes when they ask for a full body slate, I can't seem to get an angle on my tripod. That's full body. Would a taller tripod help? Okay. Anyone want to jump in on this question?
I can jump in with this. So my backdrop, if you could see, it has little loops at the top. And then it also has a loop right there. And so I can take my backdrop down and turn it to go like this. And then I actually don't use my tripod for my full body slate. I have my reader, which I guess you couldn't do if you were alone in your house right now, but I'm sure there's another way that one of you have, but I just have my reader hold, and I just have the full wide. I don't zoom in. Like normally if I'm at the studio and I'm taping someone, I have them slate their name and then I pull out to a wide shot to get their full body, and that's the slate. But for self-tapes, I've just been putting my backdrop the other way and then having the reader hold the phone, and I just say, "Hey, Courtney Rioux," and that's it. And then I edit it obviously together, and it always, like Athena said, always tape your audition this way, but it's not a big deal if your slate is this way.
Yes, amen. And then they could do a little pan of your body too. Pan it out, pan it out. I do want to say something about slates, and it's just something that I've learned to just adapt in my own practice and when working with actors. Your slate is your opportunity to be your most authentic self and say hi. So if your slate is a little funky and different, good, that's okay. Again, these casting directors want to meet people. We're all in quarantine. You know, they don't want to meet another actor. They meet actors all the time. But to meet another human being and, hey guys, what's up? It's Athena. Very nice to meet you. Little pan action. Have fun with these self-tapes. This is the most perfect opportunity to play.
I want to jump in and just add also to that, the full body slate. Definitely don't buy a new tripod to get it. As one other person mentioned, you have to be pretty wide to get a horizontal, a panorama, full body slate. You can do it if you have it in portrait mode, so vertical. One sort of easy trick is get one slate that you like, and because a lot of like EcoCast, they like you to say your name, your location. Get it where you're saying your name and your location, and then save that video. And every time you need a slate in the future, edit that video onto the front of it, or EcoCast allows you to like upload two. You can always have the slate that just, you might look a little bit different. They're not caring about the slate. They're caring about the audition. The slate is mainly for them to see your body type, really. You know, you're not really talking to your slate other than, you know, as Athena said, your personality, that who you are, and your body type. And that's why they need the full body. So give yourself a break if you're, you know, if you don't have the backdrop that Courtney has where you can flip it vertically, or you're worried that, you know, they'll see a little bit of your feet, like, or not feet, but like stuff by your feet. don't worry about it. Also, if you, I think somebody mentioned, they got a lot of stuff in their room. My recommendation is clear that stuff, I'll use my words carefully, choose my words carefully, stuff to the other side of the room. Get that one good slate shot where you have your name and your location, and then you can move all the stuff back and keep that file and then keep using that so you don't have to keep doing it, right? The slate shot is, it's the identifier and welcome, but also see who you are body type wise. And that's all they need it for. So you don't need to worry about like how they're gonna judge you on your looks. One thing to note is, and it sort of goes with one of the things Athena said about prepping your scene and presenting exactly, what they're looking for. One of the first casting director workshops I ever did, I was a very young actor and I had my silver chain on, and they were like, no, you can't wear that. Like, if you wear that chain, they won't be able to see you without the chain. So like, take it, like, that's like, if that's what you want to give off, then you give that off. But if you don't want to give that off, like, keep it simple. And so also in that sense of things, like, bring your personality, but know you're bringing your personality, and that's great, but then bring the particular personality that you want.
Yeah. Just piggyback on that, if that's okay. I love that you're saying this, Evan, because, the reality is that the reason they're auditioning, and they audition so many people, now that we have self-tapes, man, we're auditioning in different regions. I can't tell you the amount of self-tapes that go out to the LA, even though I'm on the East Coast. And now we have the Atlanta market up and popping. So there's things that are happening. So these self-tapes, they're not going away. And this idea of giving them what they're looking for, yes, and also no, they don't know what they're looking for. It's your job to deliver that. It's your job to be able to creatively go, what am I gonna do that feels authentic to how I wanna approach this character and this story, but how do I bring my own flair to that? How am I able to communicate that in my way so I feel confident and comfortable doing my self-tape? I do want to answer a question that I saw pop up in the chat. It didn't pop up in the Q&A part, from Miss Lauren Hooper. What up, girl? How you doing, Lauren? I see you. She says, are you suggesting doing a wide shot and then a close-up, or a wide shot or wide that gets close-up on the intimate part? This is a great question. Typically, if I'm running the scene, I run the entire scene in one shot. So I set it up like it's an actual take on set. On set, depending on the set that you're on, you might have multi-cameras, right? But when you're at home, we're working with one. Some people get fancy and they work with two, and very good for you. I literally have seen people set up and I'm like, yo, that's sick. That's creative, yes. But typically, if I'm just working from my phone, I'll set it up wide and I'll just do my wide shot because I want to capture the physicality. Or it's an action scene and I want them to see my body in motion so I can really tell the story in that way. Then it's a cut, and then I'll do another take, and perhaps this take is a little closer for my close-up because I want to be more intimate and I want to again show that internal monologue. So Lauren, I hope that answered your question before we move on.
Athena, can I ask a clarifying question to that, in that you would just send 2 separate takes to the casting director and they can choose which one they want to send on to the client, because you wouldn't edit, you wouldn't like be a film editor and be like, I'm going to do this part of the audition with my close-up take and this. No, just make it simple. Send the 2 different takes and the casting director.
Courtney, I like how you thinking. that is, let me tell you, that is my little actor secrets that I share with all my friends. I'm like, why are you not sharing more than 1 take of the scene? I'm not saying give them 10 takes, mi gente. That's too much. Like, no, it's overkill. But there's nothing wrong with saying scene 1 _ take 1. They're gonna see the first take. If that's your strongest take, give them that. But I have asked actors, and it's been pretty successful, scene 1 _ take 2. What's wrong with that? They're gonna choose whether or not they wanna open it. Your agent or your rep is gonna choose whether or not to send it, but my team sends both takes. I send 2 takes of every scene.
That's great.
And I want to jump on and sort of piggyback off of something that somebody, Stacy, sent in, but she sort of noted that a lot of times the slate instructions, especially on self-tapes, are written by agents. I know I can tell actually the difference of when my agent is definitely doing it and then the casting director, because they have like the same format, and then they're like, here's an example that we like. But yeah, so don't stress about the slate, right? It's about, as Athena said, Courtney, both Courtney and Athena said, it's about bringing the acting to the scene. And then these are all different things that you can do to like bring up your game. Your slate does not involve the scene. You will not be slating on set, right?
No.
Um,
and just a personal preference, I personally like to do a new slate with each audition. And I've heard that before, but again, I think casting directors are being very forgiving right now of, you know, whatever you need to do in this situation that we're in right now.
Athena, do you want to touch on filming software? You want me to touch on that?
Take it away.
All right, so standard iOS devices, your iPhone, your iPad, or I'm assuming Android as well, shoots 1080 at 30 frames a second. Any you know, your editing software or whatever, your phone's editing software can edit it. It sends. The frame rate doesn't really matter. The higher the frame rate, the more detail you end up seeing. That's why when you talk about like the 60 frame per second, The Hobbit or whatever that they filmed, it's like more detail or things like that. Don't worry about it, but you'll hear different things like 1080, 2K, 4K. They're just higher and higher resolution. For auditions, you don't need anything more than 1080. 1080 is technically 1920 by 1080, which is essentially 2K. You don't need anything more than that. So if you have filming software or whatever where it says you can, you know, change the settings to higher resolution, you don't need that. So every smartphone or smart device comes with a camera. And as Courtney said, the front-facing camera, the camera, if you're doing a selfie, it's a little bit of a wide angle lens, so it distorts, and also is not as good a camera as the back-facing camera. So just, I know, you know, sometimes it's nice to be able to see yourself as you're acting, or sometimes you don't like doing that, like me. It's better when you don't see, but always try and use that back-facing camera. So one piece of software that I've paid for and downloaded is a program called Filmic Pro, FilmicPro. I think it's about $20, but what it allows you to do is be a lot more specific on how you're filming. It has two features where you can lock both the focus and the lighting. So one thing that throws me off sometimes with like iPhones is if the light changes in the background at all, it adjusts the lighting in the film. With Filmic Pro, it sort of locks it, which is nice. It also allows you to select which microphone it's using, the front-facing mic or the back-facing mic. So you can make sure if you don't have an awesome Shure plug-in mic like Courtney, that you can make sure it's using the microphone facing you. Because if you have a reader right next to you and it's the other microphone, it'll pick the reader up much louder than you, and then you'll be a little quieter. So that's just one app that I've found. I mean, I bought it, I don't know, several years ago, but it allowed me to sort of play around a little bit more and make sure, you know, I'm in focus. Additionally, if you are filming just with your regular camera, I don't know about the Android, but for the iPhone, the person filming, you have a person in your frame and you hold your finger on that person, it'll auto lock focus. And that means it won't change the focus from that depth. So if somebody's, if for some reason your phone is filming and it decides something else needs to get focused, it'll sometimes refocus. If you hold it down and you lock that focus on yourself in frame, it will never go out of focus, which is just like you should definitely be doing that each time if you can.
Someone asked a question. So who said, Stacy Travis, hi, asked, what is the backwards camera you just said? So Evan is talking about like, this is the selfie cam, okay? And so if you're filming with this side of the camera, then it's not as good, versus if you turn it around, you won't be able to see yourself on this side. But this camera this camera is better for filming. I will say that what I do when I am filming, when I'm setting it up myself and I don't have my reader there yet, is I will put it in the mount on my ring light. I will put it on video. I will zoom in to about 1.7 to 1.9, where you can see it has a little number. I don't know what it means, but that's the number that usually works. I have a little piece of tape where I put my ring light. I have a little mark where I know that's the center of where I stand. And then what I could do that I haven't done yet, but I recommend it for my later self and you, is you can put painter's tape in like a box on the floor of how far you can move, because you don't want to just stand still and just, you know, do your audition from one little mark. You want to be able to move around and be flexible. And so if you can do that without seeing yourself on your camera, right? Or if you don't have a monitor, which you could buy, and you don't have a reader, you just tape out. And so you know how much space you have to move, and you're freer to be yourself and show your personality and act. And you're not thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't move that far or this far, right?
As Athena probably would say, give yourself space to play. And I'm a big fan of knowing your borders, because if your scene is the person's rushing and catches somebody, you can make a lot bigger a start to come into frame and stop, but you need to know where to stop and you need to know where the end of frame is to make it smooth. I'm gonna jump into so post self-tape. As I do that, I'll get into my studio. All right, this is my post-production, the green screen in. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways of editing your stuff. If you film it on your phone, you can use iMovie if it's your iPhone, or just the editor within Edit the Clip. On Android phones or other phones, I'm pretty sure there are similar programs. One thing that I find helpful is I stop between each take. So I don't do a series of takes, because then if you're editing, it makes it a lot harder, because a lot of the simple editors allow you to crop the beginning and crop the end, but not really cut it up as easily. So it's a lot easier to just record each individual take so that you can go through, oh, I like that take, clean it up, and send it out. When I say clean it up, this just means, anything that's before, half a second before you're starting, you don't want to have a casting director or director, whatever, waiting around for the audition. And then also end it not when, not when you're like, oh, that was great or something. End it at the end of your scene. Also making sure that, as in any audition, you sort of have a beat before you break character at the end of the scene anyway, so that you have a clean out. I'm a software person, so I use this app called Pinnacle Pro, P-I-N-N-A-C-L Pro, C-L-E, sorry, Pinnacle. Here, I'll wait one second. I bet Courtney's typing it, but I'll just type real quick too. There we go. Oh, double. This is just, it's on iPhones. I believe it's on Android as well. It gives you a little bit more freedom. It allows you to do cuts. It allows you to move things around. It allows you to adjust certain levels. So it's a little bit more professional. Then you can just export it into your photo video library. But any of these apps, and a lot of them free, you can do it and just make sure, I would say, keep it clean, one take per shot, because it'll allow you to edit more simply. Then with uploading footage, so there's different ways. In EcoCast, it's on Actors Access, it's direct upload. So you have your footage, you browse to it, and you select it. One of the very important things to do, rename the file. So you will it'll upload the file as like 227Z64, right? And if you're uploading a slate and two takes, that's 3 files. How do they know which one it is? So there's 2 things that you can do. You can rename and you can reorder on the upload. So after it's uploaded, you have the ability, you can right click or click on the side and edit and rename it. Rename, very simple, right? Slate, the character name and your name, right? I do underscores between each to separate them, or character name, Evan Bass, take 1. Character name, Evan Bass, take 2. Pick which one you like as the best one. Make that the first take, right? It doesn't have to be your first take, but labeling them is very important. And then you can also reorder them, move them up and down. I usually do slate, take 1, take 2, just because that's the order they'll see them and easier to click. If it is not an EcoCast, there are a lot of different ways that I know I have had to submit. Sometimes I upload it to Dropbox and I send my agent the link, and then they can download it. But there's also Vimeo.com. You can upload to there, and you can keep it private and only share it with a link. So you can do that, where you can go to Vimeo, you have the link, you send that link, right? Technically, you could probably do that on YouTube. YouTube just a little bit more for public showing. So I don't necessarily know their settings, but I know for Vimeo, you can get a free account and use the free account for things like this very easily. There's also, just in the slew of cloud services that I enjoy, one of the ones that I like the most actually is called mega.nz. So, the thing I like about Mega is it is super secure. So first of all, you get 50 gigabytes free space when you sign up. So you have like tons of space. But what it also allows is when you send the link of a file, it has a key in there, and you can change that key at any time. And if you change the key, then the previous links no longer work. So that if you have a video, like maybe you have like a reel up there, but it's a private reel that you can send directly to specific people, you could send it to somebody, and then maybe you don't want them to have access anymore. You can change the key, and then you can keep sending it out. But it just gives you a little bit more security on who can see it and when, without having to sort of upload and download. You guys have any other?
I heard a casting director say they prefer Vimeo the best. Obviously, every casting director is different. I would just say, if you're using Vimeo, make sure you click the button that says it's downloadable and that it's private, either with a password or link. Yeah, anywhere. A WeTransfer is also a great way to send files. And one casting director said, just like, don't send us 10 files. Like Athena said, you know, send 2 takes, not 10, right? Yeah, I like Vimeo the best. And I've actually upgraded to Vimeo Pro, so I have more space, but you don't need to.
If you're doing a lot, I believe Vimeo Pro allows 20 gigabytes a week of upload. And sort of talking about that though, make sure when you're uploading the file that, like, for some reason you didn't film it in 4K at, you know, X number of frames per second, and it's like 3 gigabytes large, because sometimes you'll have trouble uploading it. So just before you film, sort of what we were talking about earlier, make sure you're just in 1080.
Or if you do film in 4K, use a compressing site like Handlebar is a great site to compress your file, so it's easier for your agent to download. We'll write that down. There you go.
Quick tip about how to, because it's great, Evan, that you said sometimes when we're self-taping, we get excited and we're like, look at all the takes I can do. And then when you're sitting down to organize, you're like, oh snap, what was the good one? Because, you know, we always got that good one that you're like, oh, that felt good. A tip is, once I turn my camera off, I'll turn my camera back on and I'll give myself a thumbs up. So when I'm looking through all of my footage, I'll find my thumb and go, that's the take I want to look at first.
I love that.
It's super helpful, trust.
I'm gonna go backwards in a couple of these questions, just I want to throw in related to this. So what should be the target file size per take? There's no specific target, but I know EcoCast has a limit on size. But as long as you're in 1080, it'll be within your range. It's just if you go higher resolution, or you're doing like 15-minute takes, that it'll be, you know, it'll be a problem. But then again, if you're doing a 15-minute take, you're reading really slowly and you might want to pick up your pace. And then the other one, Athena, if you want to jump on this one, if you're sending 2 takes, do you send them as separate files, or do you put 2 takes in 1 file? Or or is this like an agent preference?
Yeah, great question. I send 2 separate files, 2 separate takes. So it's almost like Evan said when you're talking about labeling, right? Because you want to label, you want to make their life easy. They have a lot of submissions. You want to stay professional and just, you know, it could be as Evan described it, name of the character underscore your name underscore. I do SC1 TK1. So that for me is scene 1, take 1. It's really easy. That's 1 file. And I do this because if they do not have an opportunity to look at my second take, then at least I know that's the one I want to submit. If for fun they have the time, or maybe I may have caught their imagination that they want to look at take 2, then it would be the same thing. I usually label character's name underscore my name underscore SC1 TK2. So it is 2 separate files. As far as your reps are concerned, this is a great conversation starter with the reps, y'all. We need to be having conversations with them. This is a relationship. It's like dating, but not. Like, I'm very visual, so excuse the hands. But I do believe that, you know, when you're meeting agents for the first, not for the first time, but if you're sitting down with an agent or you have a relationship, go, hey, I think we should have a little fun. Why don't we try submitting 2 takes of 1 scene? What's the worst that's gonna happen? No. Hello, we're used to that. We hear more no's than yeses in our business, right? So if maybe that doesn't tickle the fancy of one casting director, like Courtney says, you know, on how they wanna receive footage, maybe another casting director, that's exactly what they were like, oh, what a great idea, thank you. So test the waters.
I do want to throw out a question to the panel then, sort of following up on this. When you have a self-tape and you have like 2 scenes or 3 scenes, do you guys usually separate them out, or do you do one after the other and then do 1 take? Because I usually, because sometimes there's like some short scenes in there, I usually do 1 take of all the different ones, taking like a quick beat between each scene and just roll into it, and then I have that all as 1 take. But
I separate it out. Yeah, I think that's probably personal preference, or maybe an agent or casting director would ask for one versus the other. I don't think, because when you go into the room, it's different too, right? Sometimes they're like, we're going to stop between each take, and sometimes they're like, we're just going to take a pause, take a breath, and we'll move into the next one.
Athena, what do you think?
Hello, I'm a fan of different takes. And I think that's because right now in my career, I'm just enamored with, I'm really captured by physical action in scenes. And I don't mean just moving for the sake of moving. I really do mean moving with intention and creating, like I love, you know, I'm a big fan of Martin Scorsese's stuff because he's so big on physical behavior. And sometimes I'll watch things and I'll turn the volume down because I just want to see the actor move. I want to see the storytelling just in the body and in the shot. This is why personally I love to go, I want to try this in a wide. I want to try this in a close-up. I want to try this in a medium shot. I want to try, you know, because again, I'm trying to marry what it means to be a filmmaker and an actor. Because from my experiences, when I work on set, you know, Yasin Atour, a really good friend of mine who also works at the studio that I'm at, Heidi Marshall's studio, he has this brilliant saying. He goes, you are the head of your department. You are always the head of your department, even on set. You respond to yourself. We can't always think that the director has the time to, listen, baby, unless you're top 5 on that call sheet, you really have to self-direct and see that and listen to the shot on set. Okay, we're going for the wide. What does that mean? Oh, that means I got to put my body into this. So that's my preference. I like the shots right now. Ask me in 6 months, I might change my idea. But right now, feels good.
I like that, Athena. I think, yeah, you should be able to tell what's going on when you turn the volume down. You should be able to know kind of which way the scene is going. So that's awesome. I love that.
If you want to go deep into it, Stanislavski says there's the actor who's got to be on top of where they are in the moment, but then there's also the performer who's got to be aware in the story arc where things are happening. And if you take that now to the digital age or the film age, you also need to be aware of what shots are going on and what that means, right? Comedies play mostly in wides. So because of the physicality of it, the physical married to the audio. But then we now are in the age of smartphones. And so when people are watching on smaller screens, wide doesn't play that well. So comedy is adapted, but then you got to sort of understand how those rhythms and the framing affects you. I got an interesting question here, throw out. Do any of you ever do self-tapes with a real background? For instance, a scene in a kitchen, shoot it in your kitchen. I don't, but thinking about being more creative with my background, especially with the thousands of submissions casting directors are getting. Or do you think it would look amateur?
It's a great question. I want to play with this a little bit because I was just having a conversation with someone about that today, where someone had a self-tape in a car and they decided to go out to their car and film the scene. I was like, okay. If I look at that personally, I would say, who's this for? Who is this for? If it's this brilliant indie director that I know loves, and I've watched their work, and I'm like, oh, this is totally up the alley. I'm totally making this more intimate. I'm totally going to be a little bit more creative. I don't know if I necessarily would put it in a kitchen, but I might use something, or I might dress a certain way, or I might do something that gives me the feeling that I'm in the kitchen. For me, it's also about, what is the feeling behind the shot? What is the feeling behind the scene? How does this scene serve the overall story? If you want to get super creative, I would just look at the production team. Definitely something you want to check in with your rep too, if that's something that you want to do. Or if you have the time, shoot it both ways. What if what you do in the kitchen, you do that first? It will influence how you actually end up doing it on, with a blank screen. So why not?
I love that idea. Just to do it, like sometimes when I'm directing voiceovers, I'll say like, do it really big, like your idea of like, this is too much, it's crazy over the top, and then go straight into a regular read. And that either number one is the perfect take because they're too far isn't actually too far, or number two, you just, it influences your next take. And you have like these little nuances that you wouldn't have had before if you didn't do it very big and over the top before. So I love that idea of like, do it in the kitchen first, then go record it. I would say I wouldn't necessarily submit that take unless, like Athena said, know your audience, because I think the best way to stand out is to fit in first and then stand out with your acting. So like, if you're like, I'm going to stand out by having a pink resume, like that just looks unprofessional, right? But you have to know how to fit in and how to be the professional, right? And then how you stand out is just that work that you put in, those little, like what you're thinking about, your subtext, the prep that you do, how you enter the scene, your last moment, those kinds of things. Maybe if it's appropriate, a button at the end. But those things make you stand out, but first you have to fit in.
I'd also just jump on there on the, the goal is to get up to the director looking at your take. It's been whittled down. They've seen whatever. And though it can stand out, also if the director has a very particular vision in their head of how they see it play out, and your kitchen setup clashes with that, that can throw them off. It's a silly thing, but if they see, okay, it's this one and it's this type of kitchen and then yours is different, they can be like, in their head, it can bug them. At the same time, it also could give them motivation. But, as kind of Athena and Courtney have said, unless you know that director or that filmmaker and sort of their style, leaving some of it up to their imagination can be helpful. Though props, I think props are interesting. I'm doing a self-tape and the guy is on a Bluetooth headphone. I will be on my background, but I'll have a Bluetooth piece in my head because I can play with it. It's small, it's not distracting. That said, if it's a kitchen and you're cutting something, I would not personally recommend bringing a knife. Even if you're self-taping, certain things, in the actual auditioning room, when it's not self-tape, you never bring weapons. And any physicality, you always ask permission of the reader first, if it's okay, and to have that permission. In this age of consent, that continues on. I've been a reader back in the day and had some dude pull a fake gun out in a scene, and like that person left, And oh man, did the director and casting director were just like, that guy's never coming back. You like, but another person who's like, I brought, you know, this thing, it's fake. It doesn't even look like a knife, but I'm gonna use it as a knife if that's okay. Do I have your permission? They gave him permission. Then she gave her permission. She used it. It was great. But again, always presenting it. But anything that looks like a weapon or could have the person watching be worried that you are gonna injure yourself, you don't wanna have. And like cutting and talking, you don't want them being like, oh my God, are they gonna cut their hand while watching you, because it's about the acting. Even though I am from the Meisner and act by doing.
It always goes back to the story, guys. It's how are we serving the story? How are we pushing the story along? It really is. We are always in service to our audiences, right? I mean, that's for me why I want to be a storyteller. I just want to tell these amazing stories on different platforms, but it's this idea of, is it really serving your story? You know, or is it, as Evan, you know, and Courtney were saying, is it taking away from your acting? Because that, listen, self-tape at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be perfect, but get that story out. Get your version of that story out, because that is the best version there is. Do not mimic or try to imagine what they want. Just really live in it for yourself so that it becomes real for you, even outside of your kitchen.
And I just want to reiterate, in this time of self-quarantine, this is the time for you to raise your game. You don't need a self-tape to audition. You've got sides in your, you know, in your email. If you're one of those people who has them in a file cabinet, you have them in a file cabinet, or you can find them. You can do scenes. You can even do scenes with somebody else who is self-taping in their apartment, and you guys are on, you know, a chat with each other as it's going on. So you're scene partners. This is the chance so that when we get over this craziness that we are in now, that you are at a new level, that it's now you have this level that self-tape, no problem. I mean, I remember in high school, I took a class my senior year and we had to write an essay every day of class, and it was insane. But when I got to college and I had to write an essay, I was like, no problem. I did this 4 days a week, every week. Like, I got this in the bag, I've got it down. It also, you know, if you're working on scenes on your own, it helps you with your memorization. It just, you know, what is the phrase they say? It's like the time in which you aren't working is the time the universe is giving you to prepare for the thing that is coming.
You're planting seeds. You're planting seeds for the harvest. And this is winter right now, right? But like hopefully you've been planting seeds. Now it's now, when do you plant seeds? Spring? Now we're in spring. So this is your time to, like Evan said, practice. You had said something and I had something to say. Now I forgot, but I'll remember it. I promise. Go ahead, Athena.
No, do it.
Okay. So to what Evan said, I've been taking a class that was virtual even before this happened. And on Tuesdays, we would get a script. We'd have to upload our self-tape by Thursday. And then on Saturday, we Zoom for 3 hours and talk about the scene and play people's videos and watch it. And I will say it has made me ready for this time when everything is self-taping now. Like, I didn't have this equipment before this class. I didn't really ever, like, I hated self-taping because I was like, I don't want to do it. You don't blah, blah, blah. That's the way it is right now. So we have to love what is. And the fact that I'm doing it every single week, I am ready for it. I have practiced it. It's like, the time is here, I'm ready. And so you don't need a class to do that. Get your friends together, like Evan said, have a group of people that's like, hey, we're doing this scene this week. Everybody upload it to Dropbox by Thursday and let's talk about it on Saturday.
That's great. I love that. I love that. I think what you're saying, Courtney, is also an opportunity to dismantle the fear around self-tape. Because there's more fear in actually doing it. And then when you actually do it, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Oh, okay. This is also why, you know, I had referenced putting a time frame, like 2 to 2:45, like giving yourself that time to just work on that. I love the idea of inviting friends. Why not? Because as Evan and Courtney are saying, self-tape isn't going anywhere. It is, listen, we are all coming out of this transformed, all of us. This is going to set new trends in our business. And this self-tape is just, it's just going to keep evolving. I do not see anyone going away. As a matter of fact, I see, you know, if you're following casting directors online, go to their Instagram. A lot of them are just doing open calls.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, slip into my DM. Slip. Introduce yourself, you know? This is such, again, I have to say, is the sun continues shining now in New York. This is an opportunity to flex your muscle in a new way, especially if you are a little afraid of technology. Just start slow, get a friend, get someone to help you out. I did want to make a quick comment about recording footage. If you have a scene that you may have gotten a couple months ago and it has not aired, please do not put that up on social media. Do not put that up on any platform. You can do it for yourself and keep it in your private treasure box of scenes, but legally we are not allowed to put any content out that has not been aired. And that includes pilots that don't make it. So if you were auditioning for a pilot and it didn't go through, someone still owns the rights to that. So just putting that out there. One thing I do like to do though, is I'll watch TV very rarely, right? I've just never watched enough TV or feature film. And if I see a scene I really like, and I'm like, ooh, listen, I'm a Latina. A lot of stuff is not written for me, okay? They don't see me on the page. I have to see myself on the page and then introduce that. If I see a character that I'm like, damn, that's up my alley, I will sit with my laptop, put pause, write all the dialogue, and then put it up. Put it up. Use it. Put it up. This is the time. We ain't got nothing but time, people.
I love that, Athena. That's awesome. Yeah, just transcribe it. Commercials too. If you want to practice voiceover in commercials, transcribe a commercial, just record it and just practice right now.
I'm going to add two last things. One, I'm a fan of, on a self-tape, doing one that you know you're not going to send in. Do that one that like, this is the one that you really want to do and it's absurd and it's crazy and it's big, but just do it, because sometimes you don't realize this is what you're giving and this is the crazy, but the best take is somewhere in between because you relax, right? Do that crazy take. I mean, I did this one comedic one a couple weeks ago and like, man, no, it must have been a few weeks ago because I actually had somebody reading with me in my apartment. So before this quarantine, but like, we did one crazy take and it was like, we both couldn't stop laughing, but it loosens you up. Other thing I want to share, another app, Otter, O-T-T-E-R. It's blue and let me see if I can easily bring it up on my phone. Let's see if this works. It looks like, it is not. Okay, so it's white, it's got a circle and some blue lines. What is this app? It is a live transcription app. You get 600 minutes per month. And if you are doing what Athena said, where you're watching a movie and you're like, ooh, I like this scene, you bring up this app, you go to the beginning of the scene, you turn the app on, you press play, and it records everything into your phone and types it up for you.
Wow. Is it Otter or Outer?
Otter, O-T-T-E-R. It is like a white and it's got a circle and then 4 lines.
It says Otter voice meeting notes?
Probably.
Productivity? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that one.
Okay. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's been super helpful in me not having to type things out. Yeah, highly recommend it. And it's for free. You get 600 minutes. And if you are recording more than 600 minutes of scenes, like, hallelujah.
My way.
With that, we don't have any more questions. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
I would say just have fun and love what is, which this is the new way of things. I know we can be like, but I want it a different way. And that won't help your audition. So have fun, learn new things, practice. I will say that adult learning, think of it as like when you were a kid and you were learning to tie your shoes, right? Like you were you didn't even know that you didn't know how to tie your shoes. You didn't know that was a thing. And then you learned to tie your shoes and you realized you were pretty bad at it. And then you kept practicing and practicing and practicing, and you got really good at tying your shoes, but you had to think about it. And then now you just tie your shoes. You don't even have to think about it. So you might be at one of those stages of learning with self-tapes, and it's okay. And just play and practice and be forgiving of yourself and have empathy for yourself. And the more you do it, the better it'll be. And then you won't even have to think about it. You'll just do it.
Amen. Yes. This was like amazing. I feel like we started and it was cloudy in New York. It was a little dim and the sun is coming in. I mean, it's just, yes, transcending. I agree. Just amen to all of that. Evan and Courtney, I'm so honored and grateful to share the space with you, because the one thing I tell the actors I coach, and also I have to tell myself, is give yourself permission, man. Give yourself permission. And I always say give yourself permission to play, but I mean that. I mean, I ask myself all the time, well, if it's not fun anymore, then I need to stop, which is why I continuously am like, find the fun in it. You know, if the shots are not your thing and it's just dialogue, ooh, baby, have fun with that dialogue. Change your tempo, change your pace, you know, elongate words, find the pauses, find the beats. Anything to hook you back into why we do the work is going to be fun. It is going to be helpful to ask a lot of questions and just get friends. You know, if this was helpful to you and you want to share it with a friend, then do that. I want to be available to you as well. Like if you're like, hey, I have a question about this, come find me, come chat with me. I'm not always on Facebook, but you can definitely find me on my Instagram, which is Athena, ATHENA _NYC, and I'll type that up. Because I genuinely, again, I love working with actors. We are in this together. This is not a competition, my friends. This is an opportunity to grow, especially now. So I'm here whenever you need.
I was just going to ask that. Courtney, what is your IG account?
It's at Courtney Rioux. So, and Rioux is spelled with IOU in the middle, like I owe you money, and a prescription on the outside, RX. Yeah, find me anywhere. I love Instagram the best, so I'm on there the most, but I'm on TikTok and Facebook and Twitter barely. And my website is CourtneyRieux.com, so you can find me there as well.
And I am eZeitgeist, at eZeitgeist. Make it hard because I didn't know Instagram was a thing until then.
You can change that.
No, I mean, I use it a lot now. It's my main thing right now, but like when I made the account, I just was like, I won't show anybody this. Oh, how the times have changed. So I just want to say, this has been Self-Taping Best Practices. We've had Courtney Rioux, Athena Colón, and I'm Evan Bass. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for future webinars. You know, we got to support each other, and this is us supporting each other and you know, making things happen during our time of downtime. But it doesn't have to be downtime.
Yeah, just be compassionate to yourself and others. Love yourself and others. Rest when you need to. You don't have to do every webinar. I know I'm saying that on a webinar, but they're recorded. Do it later. And have fun. Thanks, guys.
Bye.